Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2Have and 2Role podcast. My name is Oliver. I am but one half of your hosting duo. With me today, as always, is my co-host and wife and my LARPing partner, gaming partner. It's Robin. Hey, Robin.
Hey.
And today we're going to be doing the long-awaited final act of our recap of Empire E3, the summer solstice. It's been long awaited for a couple of reasons. One, emotionally, it took us a little while to be ready to record these episodes, and two, life is a bit manic at the minute. We have moved house. We are not in like a stable forever home currently. We're in like a bit of a pit stop. So setting up things for recording and whatnot. We're not in the ideal recording setup, as you can tell from we've got new positions, so we're kind of having to pick places where we can record separately because we can't record in the same room. I'm currently recording in the same room as our dog, so you might hear her panting and snoring and doing things like that. Also, we're also very close to an airport as well, so the joys, but we are dedicated. As you can tell, the lighting isn't just perfect for both of us either, but hopefully you can bear with us while so we can actually bring you this recap before E4 is upon us, which is it's only like a week. 2 weeks, like 2 weekends, I think we have left. So including this one.
It's soon, basically. It's soon.
Yeah. So begins our. This is going to be our final recap of Godric and Aranel's adventures.
Oh, come on.
I'll do a little another little brief bit of housekeeping for this episode. I think it does deserve a trigger warning. We are going to be talking about death, even though it's fictional death. There are certain connections emotionally to, basically, we role played out dying and having a relationship with our spouse and watching our real life spouse die. So with that comes emotions. We're going to talk about bleed, so it's and we might get a little bit emotional just telling the stories. So I thought that deserved a bit of a warning if that kind of thing makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Sunday of E3. The morning started off,
just like any other.
Just like any other.
It was like any other day at Amber.
We had the quite good morning. Obviously, this is the day that we were going to be fighting as our characters for the last time.
Okay. We'll go through the day and what happened, because basically the entire day was taken up by the battle and the dramatic ending of that battle. So we did cover a little bit last episode on where we were going and what the objectives were. So we were the Imperials. So we were the forces were the Dawn, the Marches, and Wintermark. Only the three nations going through the Sentinel Gate. We were going to Scalan, which is Jotun territory, and this time we were fighting on the Western Front. So for the past like 5 seasons, I think Dawn has been fighting on the Eastern Front. Obviously, in the Barrens is the first time we've been fighting on that front. But we were going into enemy territory, so we were the invading force.
We were the bad guys.
Yeah. The plan up to the point was Wintermark going through first, then Dawn, then the Marches. The plan kind of changed as soon as we got up to the Sentinel Gate. They were like, because originally the Marches were going left and into the copse, As soon as we got to the Sentinel Gate, we were like, I heard the order going down the line, being like, "We're going to the cops." So
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay." So we were going to go through straight away, go left into the woods, push up to the woods, up to the breach. So there was an aura. There was an autumn aura that, so unlike the fear aura that we experienced last year, changelings were affected by this. Well, the changelings were affected by the last one, but just in a different way to everyone else. But this one affected us the same. Unless you were a Cambion, this
Yeah.
one basically made you kind of stubborn and unwilling to follow orders. Did you get anointed in the end?
No.
No, I got anointed. I got anointed like the last second. I ran up down the line, being like, I need anointing because it's probably not a good idea that I'm going to be having this roleplay effect.
What was the role? Can you remember what the role play effect was for those who are not Cambions but were not anointed? Because I thought that meant that you became quite stubborn if
Yeah, that's
you were
right. Yeah,
not a Cambion.
yeah, that's right.
But
Yeah, yeah,
right, okay, sorry. But then the
yeah.
Cambion, if you were a Cambion, you were able to change that into something else.
Well,
Like,
Cambion, it's just like being a Cambion. They're just
oh,
used to it.
okay.
It's like
I,
it's like the fear aura just makes changelings mad because we're already heightened in emotion. So it's like when it's like fear, it's just like, no, fear's just gonna make me angry because I'm like,
yeah.
it's like you were merely adopted the dark. I was born in it type type,
Yeah, no, because
thing.
I remember being like, because people were like, "Are you getting anointed?" I was like, I know, I'd quite like to be quite stubborn, to be honest.
Yeah,
I've not tried that yet. Let's
yeah,
do it.
yeah. So yeah, I got anointed kind of last minute. We
Mhm.
went on through the gate. It's funny, like going through Wintermark for the first time because, for the first time for me as a player, because like Wintermark goes through and like they start going through and it feels like 5 minutes have gone by and they're still walking through the gate. There's so many of them. Was quite funny, but yeah, we went on through that gate and then headed out left through those woods. There are a few. I mean, it was a tough old fight. Like we were fighting hard, like from the word go, right?
Yeah, literally when the last of Wintermark went through the gate, I just heard like everyone just been like, Dawn, just go. And like everybody from Dawn just stood there, we did our typical, right, let's go, and we go quick, fast, straight to the
Yeah.
left. And within like I was felt like we were fighting straight away, and just
Well, we
within the
worked.
first
So,
5 minutes I was just dripping with sweat.
yeah. So yeah, we went up into the woods, and that was the thing. You couldn't tell what was on the field on that right hand side until we started getting up to the edges of the field, and then you're like, oh, the field is full of Jotun. And then we kind of had to stop there because we were pushing faster than Wintermark were. So we were basically heading up. Um, uh,
Is that what happened? Because this really confused the
yeah,
hell out of me,
yeah,
because we were like pushing up, and I just remembered as we were like right up at the top, we saw a couple of pretty cool things out on the field, and then we're like, well, let's go in. And I looked to my right, and the whole field was filled with Jotun. I was like, what happened?
yeah. No, no. We pushed up fast, and then Wintermark came up the field. So like so
Okay.
we ended up at the edge of the woods. That was the moment. So we stalled for a little bit. By that time, the March of Bill blocks were coming up on our right hand
Yeah.
side through and that was that moment. Remember where I was like,
And
I
you
had us.
clocked the egregore.
Well, we had like a pretty thin line, like on here, and I was like looking up the trees, and there was a lot of Jotun that hadn't really spotted us, and then a few spotted us, and they were like, "Oh, come on then," and I'm like, "Okay," and you're like, "Godric, don't fall for it." You're like, they're trying to draw you
But they
out.
were like, come on, come fight us. I'm like, where's he going? It's
Yeah,
a
I,
trap.
I was overextending a bit, but I saw the bill block and the March at Egregore with the bill block kind of coming up that right hand side, and I was like, no, if they get overzealous and come and hit us, then I think we'll be fine. But I also basically wanted to see what the hell was happening on the field because I couldn't see, so I was trying to like basically get out there to be like, are we actually going to get cut off? Because it was difficult to see to the right. Obviously, as you come out of those woods, it is very difficult to see what's going on the field. And obviously, a lot of times you just see a load of bodies. and you come out, and I was like, oh wait, no, yeah, there is just Jotun. But then by that time, the Wintermark had like, because they didn't sweep close to the woods, they basically just went like around kind of the
Yeah.
outside, and then kind of came around like the side of them. So we had like a little kind of L shape onto the breach, and then
Yeah.
so then we tried to then cut the. So as soon as we did push out, that's when Wintermark did come in, and the marchers came in from that right hand flank, and then we pushed them up, started pushing them away from that breach. The thing that was
Uh,
cool at the breach, sort of cool, sort of scary, was the Colossus was like right at the breach, basically like wandering around, and we were like, I ain't engaging that. I didn't know what the. I didn't hear any orders to engage it. All I kept hearing was like, "Don't engage it, don't engage it, don't engage it." So
oh, because like what I heard was because a lot of Dawn were on the field, like near this big Colossus thing, and I think a lot of us got quite excited, to be honest. I got excited. I was like, I want to go hit it. I want to see what happens. I knew what was going to happen. Aranel didn't really know what was going to happen because for once she didn't go to military council. So she was just like, I want to go hit that thing. And all I remember hearing was like Saran screaming at everyone, just being like, don't get back in the woods. Leave Wintermark to deal with it. Get back in the woods. And we're like, but big monster.
The big monster. I mean, it was fine. So we, like, Dawn eventually got through the woods. We ended up being with like another lance, like just stood in the breach.
It chased us back, didn't it? It came back towards the breach.
Oh no, it did. Yeah, I mean, so basically so Dawn got through, and then it was like the door closed. So basically, then we are just like so we get through the breach, for people that don't know, is like it's basically like it's a narrow kind of choke point bridge. It's a bridge that goes through into the woods, right? And so we, as a nation, went into the woods, and then, like I said, like the Jotun door kind of closed on us. So basically, we were just then like cut off from the Imperials, and it kind of like ebbed and flowed. You know, at one point there was a lot of Jotun, like, you know, we couldn't basically get back to the Imperials even if we wanted to at that point, which we weren't going to. Obviously, we just needed to make sure people weren't just coming up the rear, basically.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Imperials would appear, and then there was one or two kind of heralds, and we were just like making sure that they weren't gonna. I think basically my thinking was we need a lot of us here at the breach just in case the Jotun try to like send a big force in to attack the breach while we were in there, you know. So we deterred them quite well.
Yeah.
When it became obvious that I was like, because we were quite a small lance, I was like, no, well, that's okay. Let's get out of here and get into the woods. So this is where things get exciting. So the again, the objectives. This has been cleared up for me a little bit since we did our last video. There were 5 mechanisms. There were 2 on the field and 3 in the woods. So the people dealing with those mechanisms were dealing with those. So we went into the woods. Feel free to jump in here anyway, but by the way, because again, like, your experience is going to be maybe a little bit different from mine. We went into the woods. We went like right, didn't we? Because there was a mechanism to the right instantly. Because someone came up to us and was just like, "I have this," and I was just like,
yeah. So basically, like for those of you that might not be too sure, so there was a puzzle, and in order to solve this puzzle, from what we were told before we went in, we thought we had to have like runners in each lance to head over and literally turn something the right sort of way at the right time. When we got there, I'm not sure if other people had something else in mind as well, because I wasn't expecting this. There were like physical, what looked like metal rings. And like Oliver just said, as soon as we got through there, somebody ran out and was like, I've got this. The other 2 are out there somewhere. And we're like, oh, that's great.
The thing is,
do you need one of our runners? I have a runner for you. Do you need the runner now?
Yeah, well, we sort of got a run, and then at the same time we were like, actually, let's go with him, because we're like, you know, there's only like 5 of us, 6 of us in our
yeah,
lance.
like at that point, because like
go with.
So yeah, so we had 2 people with us from House Mortar, one of whom had never been out on the battlefield. So we had Danate, who he as part of his test needed to come out with us. I'm not gonna say the details of what he had to do, but he had to come with us. And at that point, I was kind of like, at first, like, he was meant to be like one of the potential runners. When I realized there was a little bit of, I'm not too sure where people are going, I was like, oh, maybe just stay with us where it's safer.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, so we then like from my experience here, we just went in, and from that point onwards, I was just fighting, constantly
I mean,
fighting.
we were kicking ass. I mean,
Oh yeah.
we were. It wasn't just a. So the things that led to the climax here, it wasn't just a, oh no, this one thing happened and that was boo. A lot of things happened
Yeah.
that led to the final outcome. To avoid anyone feeling like we're throwing any blame at any one particular thing for our deaths. I will just say, like, this, as we go through all these things, this is just my experience. And I think when we told Mark this story, he was like, it sounds like everything that can happen that kills characters happened to you.
Yeah,
Basically
literally everything. There is
everything.
not one thing that we can point to.
Yeah.
Everything happened.
Hmm.
Before that started to happen, though, there was a lot of fun actually in the woods.
Yeah.
I mean, we had Jakob with us, and Jakob's a member of House Mortar, and you had these he was coming out and like, you know, experimenting with fighting and stuff, and he had shatter. He was just like, whoa, like I was like fighting, and just every time I turned around, he's straight over me, shattering
Jakob was
things,
a
you
good
know.
soldier because he
Oh.
followed our, that's what I mean, followed our lead, you know. And we were just being super aggressive because, yeah, so my experience was we went into the woods, we went to the right because that's where the mechanism was. We went up to the mechanism,
Mhm.
and they started messing the mechanism, and then this wave of Jotun just appeared, didn't they, out of that, around that corner, and was like, whoa, bang, and just crashed into us. So we're then fighting on a front, and then I turn around, and as I'm like, obviously I'm getting healed a lot because it's me. As I'm like being pulled in and pulled out, and people like the Jotun were like basically starting to roll us, and then we finally roll back, you know, because basically Dawn was just doing like, well, honestly, we're like a bit of a, you know, one of those cartoon bee swarms. That's what we're like. When we're more like that. Like it looks like instead of being like, oh, we're a block of soldiers and when we're doing this and then we're doing that, it's like it was like, oh no, we're fading on this side, and then all of a sudden like the swarm goes and then pushes back a little bit again, and then buzzes off somewhere else. You know.
That's a really good way of describing this, actually, because that is what it feels like with
Mm.
Dawn. Like you're suddenly thin, and then suddenly a load of people come, and as soon as those enemies are gone, everyone goes, "Oh, we don't need this many people here. Let's go to the other thin bit, and let's just."
It's
And
kind of
that
was what was
is
happening, and but it was so fast paced, and so you know we got hit hard there, and it was that moment I kind of turned around. I think I got my hand cleaved, and I was getting it healed, and I realized we were fighting on like three fronts in the woods, and I was like, oh shit, yeah.
I panicked a little bit here actually, because I think this is a bit where I was like, "That's it," and I was like screaming for Saran, and I was like, "Do we need the weak?" Because we had some mass calls, and
We
I
had a
was
mass
like, "We had a
weakness,
mass
yeah.
weakness," and I was like, "Do we need the mass weakness now?" And then by the time like then he came over, and we actually managed to recover it. We
Mm.
managed to just actually roll a load of the Jotun out of the way, and we're like, "Oh, maybe we don't need the mass weakness here." And I think it's like definitely an experience shown through here, because there was a few bits where I was like, oh, we're now, this is getting really hairy, but and the person who was doing the mass weakness like had turned to me, and they were like, do you think we should, I'll do it now, I'll do it now if you think so. And I was like,
Well, that's
I don't
yeah,
know.
that was when we were on that because I know the person who had the weakness was like came up to us on all three fronts and was like, "Do I use it here?" And I was like, "Pfft." So yeah, we were fighting on the right, and then we ended up on like the straight, like as in like the center, and we were pushing out that way, and we were there for a little while, and I remember Zoran being like, "Oh, do we use the weakness here? Do we use it?" Because basically the only reason we'd want to is just to steamroll the
Yeah, like
Jotun that were
it was,
there.
you're right, it was that sort of thing where like afterwards I was like, okay, we could have used the mass weakness there, but we didn't have enough of us ready to just roll straight over them. It would have wasted it. Like the idea of mass weakness, and weakness for anyone who isn't aware of it, it just means you can't use hero calls. Basically, it means if we mass weakness a load of them, they can't cleave us as we all steamroll over them, basically.
Yeah. So, okay, so we were quite successful on that front, and then it was like, right, okay, now we're gonna head back. Now this is where things were a little bit. We came back to like the center of the woods, and there was still fighting on. There was a little bit of fighting on. And when I say right and left, I'm talking about as if you're looking into the breach, into the woods. There was there's still a bit of fighting on the right, but there was a lot going on the left, and I was a little bit like, what's the plan? I'm not entirely sure what the plan is. There seems to be a lot of fighting going on over there. So I go, right, okay, we're most needed over on the left. So we headed over to the left because I saw we had Dawn had a mercenary banner, a League mercenary banner, the Jackdaws.
Yeah.
So I saw the League and Dawn basically having a bit of a time on that front on the left. So our little unit just went charged in there. I'm just like, we just got it, like, because I could tell this was a tough one, and it was just like you gotta lead by example. I'm just like, if we play aggressive, then we're gonna win. If we don't, we're gonna lose. So
yeah, because like while you were there, like Jakob and I were on the other side, so fighting a load that were coming out from the other side. So it was like there was a little space in the middle, and it was almost feeling like we were getting entrapped because we were fighting there while you were there. And that's when like Jakob was just like, shatter. Yeah. Shatter. And I was like, yes. I was like, shatter that one.
Yeah. remember everyone. Like I know I'm not bashing the courage of anybody who was fighting in the field, but remember, like, we had the door shut on us. Like, there was no, like, when we were in that, there was no like, oh, let's run back to the Sentinel Gate. There was like,
no way to get back.
There was no, when we were in there, we were in there. It was going to be a conscious effort of everyone to be like, right, let's punch out back home. It wasn't a case of, oh, this is going to shit, I'm just going to run home, because you're just going to run into a wall of Jotun. As far as we knew, because obviously we didn't have eyes on what was going on at the breach.
No.
At that point, so it was basically like, we need to get the job done, or die trying. So fighting on that front, we're pushing out now. Some forces, I think the League were actually part of this as well. So that our mercenary banner went out to the fort, and I was like, right, okay. And then I saw these Jotun coming on. So if I'm going up towards that fort on the left hand side of the woods, on the left hand side of where the fort is a spawn point, right? So these Jotun start coming up and like lining up, as if they're going to do a push, and I'm like, crap, if we fall back, then everyone in that fort is going to get surrounded and splat, right?
I forgot about that spawn point till you said that, because I remember seeing it and thinking, I do not want to be this close to the spawn point.
It's the problematic one, right? So
I've got this nowhere I can go.
So we push up, and I'm like, okay, we just need to freaking go, right? Just push. So we push up, and then I'm like, right, okay, well, the marches I can see the marches, and they're forming a line by the fort. So I'm like, right, okay, we go up and we basically make a semicircle with the marches, and I'm like, it was good. I was like, I was having a good time in the battle, and it was hard, but I was having a really freaking good time.
I always have a good time when you've got like the pole arms of the marchers at the side of you. You're like, haha, no one's getting near me.
So anyway, so we're stopped, and I'm like, okay, we're stopped. What is going on? Because I'm seeing a lot of Jotun, right, coming, and I'm like, okay, right. So I know we've got Imperials in that fort there. We've got the marches on my right. Dawn has then made like a semicircle, right? So behind us is obviously the Dawn is the breach. I'm like, right, what do we need to be doing here, right? So then I'm like, I can't see anyone who's in command. So I run all the way back to near the breach. I don't find Zoran, but I find his adjutant, and I'm like, what are we doing? What's happening? And it's like we're falling back in slow order, right? Okay, so I'm like, I start running up, and then I hear another order saying, oh, we need to get the marches out first. Marches going out first. They need to get into their blocks and go. Okay, I'm like, right, okay. I didn't want to leave the marches, but I was like, yeah, it's time we go, because we're not in good shape to be fighting like this
Yeah.
currently, because we are like spread, we're like a thin bubble right currently at the minute, Dawn. So I'm like, but anyway, I run back. By that time, the marchers have actually started forming up. Now, then, from this spawn point come a tide of Jotun, and they come marching around, and I'm like, we can't. So I then run back. So then I then run back, and I'm like, what are the orders now? The marchers are out. It's like, just move. We are with the objective is done. We need to get out of here, but it's slowly, right? Retreat in slow, not retreat, but back up in, good order, basically.
Yeah.
So I then run back to the line. I'm obviously shouting this repeatedly, like, we need to move back slowly, move back slowly. So we're forming a line, and these Jotun just go into us, right? So we're moving back. The marchers are now kind of out. So we're like, I'm not entirely sure what is happening over at the fort, because I have not got eyes on it now. So I'm like, I hope those people are okay. We're then moving back slowly, slowly. Then we start hitting these little like outcrops of foliage. This is what. So my left hand line, say my line, the line on the left hand side is looking weak, like it is folding fast. So I and the block that we're with, so we were with another lance, and they were relatively holding quite strong as they were going backwards. So I then I go right. I'm going to go around, and I'm going to be super aggressive on that left hand side, and hopefully people follow suit, right?
Yeah.
So this is my like just Aragorn and Gimli moment at Helm's Deep. Just like, so I go, well, whatever, I'm just going to go for it, because I see an opening, and I run in. I cleave this to the point where this Jotun like player was just like, well, what the, where did you come from, type thing, I just like, ah! And I went for it. So I'll explain this after what happened. So I went, did some heroics. I ended up I went in, I used all my abilities. I went basically. Did a big circle on that left. Came in behind some Jotun and went back to the main line. I got struck down. I crawled through, got hit, and then I was on zero. I was on bleed. Someone, I think it was Guy Wooder actually, came up, went, stay with me. Right.
Yeah, it was Guy who was there, who he did stay with you.
So I then popped up. Then a ref comes up to me, and says, "Oh yeah, can I have a word?" Right, okay. And the ref was super nice, super polite. Wanted to know my stats, and I can understand why, right? I can understand why, but basically my stats were, I had 10 hit points. With my magical armor, I had Mercy had done a bull strength on me, so I had 10 hit points. I also had a magical shield called a Champion's Bastion. Yeah. Basically, the stats on the shield is that every time I use a hero point, I gain a hit point. I had on me 4 Scops Mead, 1 Sovereign Specific, and a Filter of Strength. So I was popping these. So obviously, every time I pop them, I can get more hero points, and I was just hitting cleave, Scops Mead, and my hero points were replenishing. So I went in there. I was like, I took like, obviously my 10 hits and the rest. So I mean, from the ref's point of view, it may look like I just ran in like a mad person and wasn't taking my hits. I think what he thought. I think because he didn't say, "Oh, I think you did this." He just, "Oh, can you tell me what you think happened from your point of view?" And I was like, "I got struck down. I went down. I'm on my belly. I can then crawl." Because he said, "I saw you crawl." So I think that's what he was questioning. He didn't say to me what he was questioning.
Yeah, maybe he thought you were on your bleed count, and then you started.
Yeah, maybe he thought, "Oh yeah, I shouldn't be crawling," or maybe I was cleaved or something like that. And he's like, "Oh, then you got up." But anyway, I explained what happened. Now, again, I'm not saying it's ref's fault we died, but that took a chunk of time away from me and you, because you were waiting for me.
Well, I was standing because I was waiting like nearby, and I was watching most of Dawn going on the Hilton coming up. I was like, oh my god.
So yeah, by that time, like the people who got me up at that time, again, like you said, had already gone, and we're moving back. So we then move back. That left-hand line is very weak still.
Yeah.
We then hit. So then, as we're backing up, we hit like a load of brush and tree, right? That we can't like out of character move through at all.
Nah.
We can't move through it. So we then obviously then you stop. So this line of Jotun is coming at us, and the left hand line, like the Dornish that were on our left, they just disapparated. They just and the Jotun went around our left hand side. So then they are coming around this left hand side. To the right, I look to the right. It's even worse to the right because we have to go. There's it's more hairy and you can't see what's going on the right. Because I think a couple of people did. I know Mordred did. R.I.P. I went around to the right and I basically turned, and again, no one has to follow your orders, you know. I'm certainly not anyone that you should, you know, I've not got a lot of experience out of character, but I called a shot, and yeah, people decided not to follow my lead. I don't know whether we would have survived if they had or not. I don't know, but I was like, there is a gap there. We need to go through it. We just need to go. We just need to go.
At this point here as well, the gap you're pointing to, because I was like, we were getting a little bit crushed.
Yeah.
And I did crushed. That sort of, I did that panic of, I was like, no, like I'm getting crushed. There's a lot of pauldrons bumping into me. And I did have a little bit, like, I spotted a ref and I shouted over to the ref. I was like, out of character, we are getting crushed in here.
That's how many Jotun there were, people. We were a single line, single file of Imperials.
And the ref literally stepped back and actually cleared a bit of a passageway. And that's when, like, we had a nice opening there. And that's when you were like turned to the others. Like, right, let's go through here. Let's get out of this bit here because it was getting a bit hairy.
Yeah. So what's your view of what happened next? Because basically my point of view was, I said to everyone, right, there's a gap here. We need to punch. We need to go. And you went, and then I followed you. Is that what you?
That's pretty much my view as well. You said there is a gap, and the gap that you pointed to was actually one that the ref had like stood back, and I clocked 3 Jotun. Just 3 Jotun.
Yeah.
Wasn't too bothered about that. I clocked 3 of them.
You wouldn't have been if, yeah.
Out of character, the 3 Jotun actually, like, I saw these step back and like lower their weapons. I was like, oh, I think they're actually waiting because the ref has clearly said step back. And I was like, okay, I know they're there. Let's just go. You've said go. I'm going to go. And I ran both swords out. I took a couple down, started fighting. And yeah, at this point, do you want me to carry on what happened?
Yeah, you carry on. Yeah.
Okay. So I ran, and at this point, so stats wise, I was low on hit points. I was high on hero points though, because I had downed my Scops feed in our little breach bit there. So I was stocked up on my Scops mead, and I was like, I'm just going to cleave everything I make contact with. And I ran out and I did the cleave, and I felt 1 hit, I felt 2 hit. And at this point, I knew I was on 1 hit point. I knew I couldn't get my potion out of my pouch in time, really. I knew I wasn't going to be able to grab it and drink it and everything else. So at this point, this is when I turned and looked back, and I saw you.
Just me.
Just you. And all these Jotun. And I went to run, and as I put myself to run, someone cleaved. And I was like, that's my last hit. I'm gone. And I'm also cleaved. So I went down on the ground. Now, at this point here, I don't remember how I fell. Apparently, I did a cool fall.
You did, yeah. You did a slide. You did a...
And all I remember seeing was you fall. And I screamed, like I screamed Godric, as loud as I could. And I realized that you were down as well. And I just remember your face when you looked to me and you put your arm out towards me as I saw not people dressed up in orc masks. I saw orcs, real orcs around you. And I saw no one else. And I realized I was screaming, I was shouting. I was telling the Jotun to piss off at the same time.
Yeah, I saw you go down. So I saw you do the slide, and basically I could just see you going up against 3 of them, and then there was 2 behind you. So I then start running, and then obviously I get flanked by the Jotun that were coming around the left-hand side of the lance that we had left behind. I had 2 hit points left, and I thought I could get you. I had potions on me, and I heard basically my unarmored part is my hamstring. Someone hamstrung me. They cleave me in the hamstring as I'm running towards you, and I do this just like. I'm like, this is my moment to be cinematic, and I just do that like that, fall to the knees, like, and I'm on my knees as you turn around to me, and you're like, Godric, and I'm like, I can't. And as I look at you, I've got 1 hit point left, and someone just hits me, and I'm like, fall to the ground, you know. And yeah, so at this point we are on our bleed count. We are then I'm then sort of assessing the situation. This is the moment where a million things run through your head. The main thing of which is just like, shit, this is it. This is it. This is it for us. Like, you look around, I saw like the little island of the Dornish that we had left. Unfortunately, yes, some people had tried to make it to us and were cut down. 2 members of our lance were cut down. The Dornish unit that was left there, they were getting harassed and slowly cut down, and we would just see them from a distance. And we were in this, and it was that moment where it was like we were maybe like a minute into our bleed counts, and I was just like, this like this is I just accepted, right, this is it. This is where the role play starts. This is the end of Godric. And it was it was thematically theatric and beautiful. It was just a copse of trees around us, just a flat kind of opening of dirt, and we were surrounded by Jotun orcs. And again, I will echo what you said. Like, in that moment, it was just like, you were my love, and you were there, and they were orcs around us, and everything just kind of stopped as we were screaming out for our friends. We were screaming out, you screamed out because the breach is over there. The Dornish that had left had already gone. There was no one coming back for us, and we were starting to accept that.
Well, I mean, like, at that point, so while you were still over there and I was shouting and screaming, and I saw, like, what went through my mind at first was, you're closer to the Dornish that are there. And I thought, maybe if they can get you up, I know you'll get me up. Like, you'll save me. If they can get you up. And I was screaming. Every time I clocked someone, I was screaming their name.
Yeah, I remember hope. Yeah, I remember the look in certain people's eyes as I called out to them, pleading for their courage.
Then when the Jotun went to pick you up and carry you towards me.
Yeah, so a certain sorry, because you did say something to me, so I don't even know if you heard it. No. But yeah, so this Jotun picked me up and was like, is this one your love? I'm paraphrasing. I'm sure the player can probably, but along the lines of, is this your love? I'll take you over to her. And he like picked me up, so like rules carried me and put me next to Aaron, which we were only like, things we obviously, because we couldn't move, we were maybe only like 5 or 10
yards or something.
Not even that. Yeah. Like maybe like 10 feet or something like that. Yeah. Barely. And
I mean,
put us together.
Well, like, that's the thing. When they picked you up, I cannot describe the panic that went through me in that moment, because I saw them pick you up and I was like, what are they going to do? And like, out of character. That's my real husband dead in front of me.
Yeah,
And
the role play the role play you were throwing out was fucking good, but it
good.
like stabbed like out of character. I got stabbed in the heart. Obviously, when you were like you turn around and you're just like Godric, and you're looking at me with tears in your eyes, and we're like realizing that this is the end. And obviously, they put us down together, and then we embrace, and there's just like this. I mean, it's just I would love to have like art or something done of it, because
art of this, because in my mind, you and I were there, arms around each other, knowing this was the end, as a circle of Jotun were around us,
and
accepting in their views that we had died with, or we fought with honor. I think both of us, in separate occasions, turned around and said, "No,
now
we fought with glory."
Yeah, fuck yeah. That was
fuck honor.
Yeah, that was that was the moment. I think we both knew as well. We're like, no, we're gonna be loyal to our characters, like right to the very end. That whole battle, I was running around being like, no honor, only glory, and the Jotun went, you fought honorably, and like out of character, these things go through your head, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, so the way the Jotun, their society is, you can take advantage of that, and people do. So they're an honor society, and basically, we could have talked our way out. We could have charisma
our way
down there.
I could have turned around to the Jotun there, and I could have said,
"Give us a potion.
We fought honorably.
Yeah.
If you want to fight us again, then feed us the potions in our packs, and we'll fight again."
Yeah, the Jotun are willing.
Not Dawnish.
No. Yeah, the Jotun are willing to be like, oh yeah, we'll give you back. We'll heal you and give you back to your allies, so that you can basically tell the Empire that this is what happens when you deal with Jotun. And yeah, it went through my mind, but you know what? I was like, that would be the least Godric thing to do. That would be the least Godric thing I could have ever done. And where Godric was in his arc, like, and obviously when Aranel was like, yeah, we didn't fight honorably, we fought gloriously, and I was like this is perfect, this is the perfect way to go. So we ended up embracing, and like I had a rank of fortitude. And basically, what you were counting down, you start obviously
I got to a minute, and I started out loud counting
just in
down
case,
from a minute, because I thought a minute's long enough for someone to get.
Just in case anyone, and literally anyone could have come, just in case anybody would have come, and you started counting. I was like, I have a minute more than you, and obviously I went down after you, but I was like, I already knew, like,
I wasn't.
There's no Godric without Godric without Aranel, and I was like,
we were like. It was that moment where
as soon as you were on zero, I was like, no, I'm gone. I
got to the last, I think I got to the last 20 seconds, and I was like looking at you, and I turned my head and I screamed as loud as I could possibly scream. I screamed, Zoran. There's no way anybody was going to be able to get to us in that point. And I looked at Godric, and we collapsed there together. And we lay there for a little while. A bit of time passed, and then the Jotun players came over and were like, do you want us to move you into the shade? And they moved into the shade. Yeah. We slumped down.
Yeah, this is where the shock set in, right? This is when we'd done our role play, and it was just like, oh, like, fuck, this is.
Well, I heard someone, like, we were there, and so you were up against a tree, and I was like up against your chest. There is actually a photo of this. I need to find it. But yeah, I'm like up against you. And all I heard, as I wasn't even sure what, I couldn't wrap my head around what happened. And I heard someone be like, oh my gosh, isn't that the most Dawnish thing ever? And I was just like, oh, I don't want to be the most Dawnish thing ever right now.
Not right now.
We're there for a while. And that's when Jakob was brought over to us.
Yeah.
Up until that point, I didn't realize that he had died.
No.
I was like, there was, what actually riddled me at that point was guilt. Because Jakob was fighting in another part, And I was the one that said, we're going this way, come. Came, of course he came. And I'm just thinking, wow, if he'd stayed where he was, would he still be alive?
Yeah.
Because maybe.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, yeah, people showed their loyalty. Yeah, and yeah, this is the moment where you get. You start thinking about things, and we started like just basically behaving like zombies a little bit, and just being like, oh my god, yeah, this is kind of it. And again, the battle was still going on, by the way, and
Yeah.
Dornish was still dying. This isn't the end of the battle.
Oh no.
No,
Things were happening still.
things were still happening. So a lot of Dornish forces had then obviously gone back to the field. So then after a little while, the Jotun then was like, okay, let's do basically like the monsters. We'll talk about this like once we go through this little scenario.
Yeah.
The Jotun players were just being really fucking cool. Like they were being amazing role players, and they basically
amazing people.
yeah, they were like, oh, do you want to go? Because I think there was a ref and the Jotun players. We all like collaboratively were like, okay, what do you want to do here? Like, do you want to go basically back terminal, to through the Sentinel Gate, basically, kind of out of character? And we were like, yeah, so we'll basically give you back to the Imperials, but you're
Yeah, like I must say, like all the Jotun players that were there, I must have asked a million questions here because I didn't know what to do, and I was like, wait, can I speak to people? Yeah. Can I still do that?
Yeah, should we clear this up now, actually?
Yeah, because
I didn't know that you didn't know.
Okay, I didn't know any of this, and I had like 3 Jotun players explaining the rules to me at this point.
Yeah. So when you go to 0 hit points, you go on your bleed count. Once your bleed count is at 0, you then die. You can, if you want. So if you get executed, you die. You're just gone. If you reach 0 on your bleed count, you can choose to go what's called terminal. Basically, you can stay alive for the entirety of the event. You have to die. Your character has to die at the end of the event. While you are alive, while terminal, you can't do any combat, basically. And I'm not entirely sure on the rules on things like I'm pretty sure you can't do anything like magic and things like that. I don't know. But
basically, you can say your goodbyes to people and have those conversations.
Yeah, and you get to choose. So this is where I think you were confused. You get to choose when you go. Like basically the only hard rule is by the end of the event, you have to be gone by. If as soon as timeout hits, you're gone, basically. So you can hang on right to the end of the event if you want, but you get to decide when you pass, basically, through that. So yeah, so we get then like we're then like carried by the Jotun. So
just before they took us back, we so somebody else had a load of prosthetic stuff, so we got covered in
blood, and stuff like that.
Covered in blood, covered in scars, covered in everything that we needed to really, really sell this to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, we started heading. The Jotun. They all again, just a huge shout out to this group of people because they were very kind, very lovely. They played the Jotun perfectly. And the out of character, every single one of them individually checked in, being like, are you okay if I move you here? Are you okay if I move you there? Are you okay with this? And everything. Like the communication was incredible.
I mean, should we just talk about this now, actually?
Yeah, go for it.
The monster stuff. So we, funnily enough, like shout out to a couple of other podcasts because I know that this moment in our story has been mentioned in a couple of others. So I know that the folks over at LARPs and Tarps, so one of the players from that podcast is in the Jackdaws, and we were fighting alongside them. So you can go listen to their final E4 podcast and see the
E3.
Sorry, I think it was part 4 of their E3.
Yeah, part 4 E3. Yeah.
Yeah. Get their view of the battle, and we got. So we had Ian from the LARP News reach out to us. Like, I think we heard this before the event was over, actually, but he reached out. So he was one of the. He was basically the Jotun that killed me. So.
Everyone, Ian from the LARP Noobs, the killer of love.
The killer of love, exactly. But I think because he messaged you and I was like when someone said to me like at the end of the event they were like, oh, it was because people were like obviously a little bit joking, they were like, oh, it's podcast wars now because like the LARP noobs killed you, but I was, I as soon as I heard that I was like, I'm so glad it is people we know that
So
killed us,
glad.
basically. Not in a like, oh yeah, I killed you, mate. No, like because one of the fears, especially because we like record our stories and things like that. Like the worst thing that I could imagine is somebody like taking the mick, and yeah, being like, oh, I kill, I'm glad it was someone who respected our characters. So I was like, I remember when you said, oh yeah, Ian's messaged me. I was like, tell him we are super cool and we were very happy with the way it went. Um, I know, and there was a couple of other people that came up to us after who were monstering, who are our friends. These are all like the Imperials you play with, and
Yeah.
they were like, we saw you, and we were like, we saw what was going to happen. We were like, nope, and that was so heartwarming as well at the end because people were like, oh, I came up, I saw you laying there, I was like, I can't do this, I can't do this, and people went back home monstering because they
Done
couldn't,
monstering.
yeah, they couldn't stomach like being a part of what was happening. That really meant a lot to us. The people who were monstering basically coming up and basically, one being like, oh, I feel terrible or whatever, but yeah, like um being empathetic, obviously, and because I think people actually thought that, oh, because that's what I mean. When I've been monstering and people and like players have gone down, I've been like, oh crap, and you look around, you're like, crap. I don't think people are actually gonna get you. I remember like I think it was E1 this year, and I knew
Yeah.
this person was a new player, and I got them down, and I cleaved their leg, and I remember like I remember like saying to this player, because he was moving without being like he was moving, but when you cleave, if you got cleave there, you can't move. You can't crawl or anything. So I was like, look, you can't move. Your allies need to pick you up, and their line was moving backwards, and I was just like, and he came up to me afterwards. He was like, oh yeah, because I had died. Like basically the end of this story is that I died as the monster, and he was like, oh sorry, I didn't know the rules. I was like, no, I was more happy to go at your um like I was trying to get your allies to get you up because I didn't want you to die because if they had
Yeah.
fallen back and you can't move, then you're a goner, type thing. So like most
That's the thing.
monsters,
Like, I don't think I could play Drush because I like playing Jotun and Yugara because there's been several times where I've healed people, I've healed Imperials, or I have watched someone crawl back and let them crawl back who were not cleaved, obviously. And there's times where I have been the second Jotun to just raise someone and take them back to their friends,
yeah,
because I don't want to kill people's characters. And if it's a situation where I'm like, this is kind of avoidable right now, you probably could live. They're right there. Not a situation like ours, basically. I was like, yeah.
yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's so yeah. Go listen to the LARP News episode as well and
Yeah.
see it from their point of view because when like say when he in Messenger, I was like, please tell him to talk about it because like I want to hear about it. And I know he did say when I listened to it, like, oh yeah, I had a tear in my eye, and that we had a member of House Diggervain who's written a song. It's not fully finished yet, but one of the lines in the song is even the Jotun had tears in their eyes, and that's one of the last lines. And I was like, that line just hits because out of character. I know people like I heard that people, when I heard that, oh my god, they were like, oh, I was welling up when I saw you, and we were on the monster side, and I'm just like, that is so Jotun and so Dornish. Like the two
Yeah.
briefs were just so perfectly encapsulated. The Jotun were just stood around us in a circle in like on a solidarity, and we were just like, fuck no, we're gonna be
Fuck
we're
Honor dying
fuck
gloriously right
fuck
now.
honor, and glory is about being remembered, and we are going to be remembered for
Yeah.
dying like this, not for being like, oh, please, let me have a one-on-one duel so we can. No, that's not Godric, that's
No.
not Aranel, especially not in this part. This
The
is
thing is,
this
like,
is
I knew as well, and I knew out of character, like, even if we hadn't have said anything, if they had decided, let's just get them up anyway, I would have just started fighting them again. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have ran away.
No.
Like, that's not what we do. And
No.
especially when I knew there was still Dawnish dying.
Yeah,
Like,
and
I'm not going to run away.
yeah, and those words that Starash said to me like the day before were ringing out. Don't you could have robbed Aranel of a glorious death. So there is no way that Godric would have been pleading for his life or Aranel's at all from the Jotun. Not a chance. But anyway,
A virtuous death.
and a virtuous death. Oh yes, we definitely had a virtuous death. So yeah, we were then thrown back through Imperial lines. We're drawing this out. It's going to take forever if we don't like get through it, because we still got a lot to get through.
It's so hard.
It is hard. We get thrown back to the Imperial lines. The Imperials then like take us back, and again the fighting is still going on. At this point, again, this is my view on it. And Godric is still in character as well. Godric is still alive, by the way, terminal, but alive. We are then taken. Yeah. So Dornish are just getting torn to pieces in the woods, just torn to pieces. We then go through the breach, through the breach, and the field is full of Imperials, and they're having a good time. They're like, got the weapons down. They're great. Yeah, we won. You did win. And obviously, we're terminals. No, not my place to be like, hey, by the way, people are still dying in there. Like one unit, basically any one unit could have just gone in there and
I'm sorry, 10 people could run in and probably just completely change that.
Yeah, could have just got everyone out. Yeah, it was there was a communication problem. There was definitely a communication problem. But yeah, I mean, in character, I think there probably would have been ramifications if we hadn't come back. Because yeah, there was some serious in character issues there. But anyway.
Yeah, because I remember, like, basically I was still alive at that point, like you said, terminal, it's being carried out, and the person who was carrying me, I turned to them and I was like, see that over there? Any of them can go and save the people who are dying.
Yeah, they were still dying.
So that information was passed on.
Yeah. So anyway, so we got to like the gate, and there's like a little there's like a set of stones where you go through the Sentinel Gate, right? And there's a little like a few 50 yards or so where it's out of character. So obviously then we're like, we do deep breath out. The people that have taken us out and chucked us through the Sentinel Gate have just like, before we got chucked through, they were like, oh, how do you want to go through? And we were like, do you want us to like, do you want to fall through? And we're like, you know what, we're going to fall backwards through it, right? So we went through the gate. There's a big out of character area. So then we're like chatting and blah, blah, blah. So as we're walking, and obviously out of character, people on the other side of the Sentinel Gate can see you, but not in character. So we're walking up to the Sentinel Gate, and our egregore is just like chilling, and watching us come through. And as we get to the part where we're in character again, coming through the gate, we turn around, we hold each other's hands, and we fall backwards. So we've just fallen backwards.
It was that moment as well, where because so many of us came back, there was a few people gone, and obviously there's 2 people to each person for carrying them. There was quite a big group standing there, and it wouldn't have been clear as to what had happened until that moment.
So as we fall backwards, the egregore, like, I think there was the who was there? I think the Wintermark egregore might have been there as well. But anyway, like, our egregore was there.
We had two of our egregores there.
Were they both there? Were they? Okay.
There was 2 egregores there, I think. Yeah.
It was 2. Yeah. So we then fall back, and again, like this is early as well. Like this still, again, the Imperials were just chilling in that big field, celebrating. So we had plenty of time, though. We were one of the first ones through, so we collapse, and yeah, it then starts dawning on people that we are nope. Varric, who is played by Agent B. Smith, photography, happened to be there at the Sentinel Gate. And Ben has basically has documented this
he
part
has gotten
of the story.
Stage. He got us as we were, the 2 of us were slumped over one another walking towards the gate. As we fell backwards through the gate, as everybody realized what was happening, and as we were carried back towards dawn, he captured every moment of this journey that we took.
So we were then carried. It was one of those things, wasn't it? It was just like, you know, that they were carrying us. We had obviously, like, Thanat had survived, but obviously was one of the first people we saw when we came back to the Imperial lines. So he you know, was one of the ones helping carrying us, because basically, you know, it was like two House Mortaire members and me, and obviously it was like, you know, three of the members, and then I think Mordred came a bit later on. Another house member of Descendris came through, so it was like, you know, four of my unit. You know, that was another thing as well. Like, out of character, in character, yeah, I failed my unit. You know, I got a good chunk of us killed. I'll talk about that later on, but yeah, and as we slowly start going back to Dawn, and again, like, because we were one of the first people back, this was rough, right?
This was hard. So the first three people that we met on the way back, so we came to the entrance towards Dawn and saw Starras, and I looked at him and I just said no with my eyes. Basically, I was just like, no. Yeah. And the look he gave me, like, I could feel the pain. And at that point, I saw another friend who's the center of Summerhome, and I saw as he looked over towards us, and there's a moment where there's almost like the doubt of what's happened. And then, yeah, Ben's got a cracking photo of
like
how they actually felt
after the fact. I mean, the shots that he got, because like we didn't, some of the notice, like, you got one of, like you said, the senator for Summerhome just being like, oh, like, just that look of shock seeing us, like.
It's at this point here, though, I see an outline of someone making their way, and I had to, like, prepare myself for this. I remember squeezing your hand. Technically, you should have two people carrying you. Everybody there decided that the two.
Oh, we weren't letting go of each other's hands.
We're not going to let go.
No.
They would support each other, even in death.
And
I saw the outline of Lupo coming through the tents.
Yeah, as he was coming out, I'm just like, this is gonna be rough. And yeah, and then he comes running up, as where obviously that's the thing. And a few people that said to us afterwards, they were like, we assumed maybe one of you had gone, you know, but because we were like holding each other even when we were being carried, and it was just like, the realization. And you say you do that little, like, shake, and yeah, like, Lupo, like, embraced Godric and just let out this, like, anguished scream. That was
the pain, that, like, I will hear that sound forever.
Yeah. And I mean, that obviously, like, signaled to pretty much everybody who was
a bloody beacon to the Empire
in camp as well, that shit had gone badly again, because we were, like, basically the first people there. So we were literally like the first people in the glorious dead people in the Glory Square, weren't we?
Yeah, because, like, after all of this, like, after the event, a friend in Tigris Draco had come up, and they had said, yeah, like, I didn't know what was happening, and people in the house just went, oh, that's the first couple now. And they were like, wait, what do you mean? And they went, no, that's the first few that are dead. And they went, wait, and it was just a realization, no, can't be, don't be silly. And then they were basically explaining, no, watch, they're going to be taken up to the square now, and then this is what happens now. And it was like that sort of realization of what had happened after having Lupo there. The sight of Lupo legging it back to the camp to get blankets and towels, and pillows and everything, to start laying it out. And that moment as we came up towards the Glory Square, I saw the minstrel. Now, minstrel, some of the last words that you said to us were, I love you, but I'm not ready to talk to you right now.
Because if you remember, people thought we were dead on Friday, and we made everyone panic thinking we were dead. So one of our egregores wasn't talking to us.
And seeing the minstrel's face, that broke me at that point. And yeah, then they laid down some blankets right in the center of the glory square, and we lay there together. I lay over your chest,
Yeah.
with my big steel pauldron propping up most of me.
Yeah, it can be quite uncomfortable, like laying dead. By the way, so everyone took care of us, like, oh, you're
Look
getting
after
us
the
like
dead.
pillows and things like that. So we get
Oh yeah, I
like,
remember Kate whispering into my ear, being like, "I'm gonna go get you a pillow now." Thank you.
yeah, that's the thing. The waterworks were just coming from us, and the role play. Like, I know you had a little bit of confusion on the rules of the role play, but like the role play was just like rolling over me. It was not rolling over me in a bad way. I mean, like, I didn't have in my head, oh, this is what I want to do in my last moments. I was just like, I was physically upset, as out of character as well, and um, upset, and then just using that, through Godric, but also reflecting, and yeah, just I didn't have a basically I didn't have a plan, and
No.
so it was basically just I don't know when I'm going to go. I like this is basically how I want to go and see what happens, because I'm like, I know this is going to escalate as more people come back. Yeah, so as we were laid out in on the glory square, you could hear, and like we had our eyes closed for a lot of it as well, just slowly opening, closing them, obviously acting like we're dying. But yeah, you could hear just more and more familiar voices going, and yeah, thank you again, like Ben, for getting so many shots of people entering and finding out, because obviously we couldn't see anything. Like, so
Yeah.
yeah, we characters that we knew that coming in, and just having heard the news and just the grief on their face at the news, as slowly people started pouring into that glory square. As we laid there, we had obviously like house members all around us. Someone had gone off to um, find Lady Morrigan as well.
Oh, Lady Morrigan.
So as we were pretty much center of the ish of the glory square, up near like the Orzel tent. Um, and as we're laying there and people are speaking to us as we're dying, um, Strash Orzel stands over us, and like the whole weekend, obviously, he had been like playing up our test of ardor stuff. Oh yeah, make sure you keep apart. Don't stand too close, you two. And he was the one that was like, they need to be holding hands. So he like uh, placed our hands together. He was insistent that we were together, and he said a few words. Again, I can't say exactly what was said, but obviously it was very it rang very much as a full circle to our conversation on the Saturday, Godric and Starash. Words were said like, true love transcends the labyrinth. And he said, I'm going to make sure that you find each other in the next life and forever. And he did a testimony on our souls, on our
Yeah.
deathbed. So for people who aren't kind of aware of how this works in the setting, as a human, you have an immortal soul, and when you die, that soul enters the what we call the labyrinth, and depending on how virtuous you are, kind of depends on how quickly you get through that labyrinth. And then once you get through the labyrinth, you are reborn again. Your soul is then put into another vessel, and you get to live another life. But your soul is immortal. It's a reincarnation type thing. But you're in the rule set. You can. It's a priest skill. You can write on people's souls, which is called a testimony. So Starash went and he performed a testimony on each of our souls. And on Godric's soul, he wrote the words Aranel's love. And on Aranel's soul, he wrote Godric's love. And he told us, when you are reborn again, if anyone were to read your soul, you'll hear what's written on it, Aranel's love. And you'll wonder who was Aranel, and you'll be able to find each other through the stories that you've laid out here and forevermore. And then he placed 2 eagle feathers between our hands. At this point, it doesn't get any easier, folks. Doesn't get any easier. Doesn't get any easier.
Oh, okay.
Then Lady Morrigan appears. Do you want to tell this, or do you want me to carry on, or are you two gone?
I'm getting there. A lot of what happened here, like, I was just like, people were saying things and I was like trying my hardest to like respond to them. Lady Morrigan, all I remember is feeling her like put her hand over us, and I just remembered bringing my hand round to hers. And as she spoke, I didn't say anything to her. I couldn't say anything to her. But you, my gosh, when she spoke, what did you say?
You know what? I can't remember exactly what I said to Morrigan. I definitely said some words. I know she was trying to help us pass peacefully into the labyrinth, but obviously the main thing that because I think there was a ruckus, and I know a couple of our friends have said to me what they were aware of Godric's Test of Ardor, and they were adamant. I had one say, like, my character is ready to fight people if they said that Godric hadn't passed his Test of Ardor, but Morrigan was already on it. Morrigan was proclaiming straight away, being like, Godric has passed his Test of Ardor.
You are Godric Mortar.
Yeah. And
Lord Godric Mortar.
Yeah.
And you have passed your Test of Ardor.
And then she basically married us on our deathbeds in the middle of the Glory Square, making me Godric Mortar, and obviously I was then led next to my wife so I could pass through the labyrinth, married to my true love. There was a lot of words said, and I can't go through them all because I don't want to go through them all as well. I don't want anyone to be like, oh yeah, there was some such impactful
there was so many
words.
There's definitely a couple I'd like to mention, but I can't mention them all because there was so many.
Yeah.
The only ones I want to mention though is Belikov. I saw Belikov standing there doing his whole like, I'm just gonna stand here, and I just made eye contact with him. I was like, no, you're gonna come here to me. And he knelt down and he put his hand over, and I just wrapped a couple of my fingers around his, and he went to speak to me. I mean, earlier he told me off, on the skirmish and everything. And I just told him there that he had to break my skirmish record now. So Belikov, 3 minutes, okay? And then
yeah, there were so many. Lupo had talked about our again, it's a little like hit hard out of character as well because these are friends that we've made, new friends in LARP as well. You know, like Lupo mentioned, like the first interaction, first conversation that we had with him in Wise Guys
Oh my
all that
god.
time ago. Uh, yeah, just there's lots that I kind of want to shout out and I can't. Like my Marcher friend Bobbert.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I feel like it's an accomplishment because I know we had marchers crying at a Dornish funeral. Now that is a that
We
is an
made you feel
accomplishment.
things.
That is an accomplishment. We had Urizeni there as well. I know.
We did.
Yeah, I'm not just for us. But so by the way, I will say as well, this is very much our story we're telling here as all this is going on more. Because it means we didn't see a lot of it because we are like either looking up at the sky or just closing our eyes. So it wasn't until we saw the pictures afterwards. At this point, there was like 30 dead being brought in slowly, and it was
Yeah.
just filling with people.
So like the amount who died in Dawn on the battle was 36. 36 Dawnish died in that battle. 44 across the whole weekend, but 36 died in that battle. I won't say all the other numbers from the other nations, but 36 Dawnish died in those woods. It wasn't zero.
No.
Because one jackdaw died.
12, yeah, but they were fighting for Dawn. Yeah.
And it was zero elsewhere.
Yeah.
And you can correct me if I have made a mistake. That was just the final count that I'd read.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the square was filling, and like you just said, like our perception is the sky and what we can hear. And what we heard was just the people that came over to sort of whisper. I honestly I couldn't even like list off all the names, the amount of people I spoke to. Having Belikov there, having Morrigan, Lupo, Beaumont, Zoran, everyone
Yeah, I
coming there
can't
to
even. Yeah,
speak.
there's
It was
so many. Yeah.
just so many.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
intense.
So
And feeling the flowers drop on us.
yeah, we were covered in flour. Yeah, it was. I mean, some people were literally. I mean, it was as impactful. Sometimes people were literally just not saying anything, and people you knew, and just placing a flower on you. You know, that was. By the end, we
Oh,
were like had flower crowns on us. We had the Descendress and Mortair banners over us, and it was so epic and so Dornish. But as a like I got really deeply I was so deeply in character and it was such a unique experience to me. And for like I was so Godric in that moment, more Godric than I had ever been. And it was this moment in particular. So as I as we're laying there, the the sun is eclipsed by the silhouette of, ironically, the general of the Golden Sun, Zoran, and he's like looking down at the pair of us, and he smiles and says, "You crazy fuckers," and then he goes sullen and he says, "It should have been me there, not you. It should have been me laying there." And my brain, like some movie, as all this buzz is going on, death all around us, my brain goes to the night previous, and I'm walking through the fields of the barrens, and it is so peaceful, and it's nighttime, almost pitch black, and I'm walking through there. I can see lanterns in the distance, and I hear a voice, and the voice says, "Oh, is that a Godric?" And I turn around and I see Killian Mortair sitting on the ground. And he's sitting with a few candles, and I go and sit next to him, cross-legged. He looks like he's very pensive, and I was like, "Killian, I've just spoken to my friend Uriel. The spirit of my good friend Uriel. And Killian smiles at me and waits for me to tell my story. And I tell him how I told Uriel I knew that what my ambition was. I knew that I wanted to embrace death and live this one life that I have gloriously, and so gloriously that when I get to that labyrinth, I am going to blast through it faster than any spirit ever has. Because I'm going to be that virtuous in doing it. And Killian looks at me and smiles and says, spoken like a true noble of House Mortaire. And we look out into the distance and we just see the little candle, and I get up and I leave him. And I'm then brought back to lying face up. And Zoran has just said to me, it should have been me there, not you. And I remember saying to Zoran, no, I'm exactly where I need to be. I'm exactly where I need to be. And I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And there's a list being written from all the names of the dead in Dawn. And I hear someone say it's Aranel Mortaire and Godric, and Killian turns to Lupo and says, your name or ours? And Lupo's like, yours. And they write Godric and Mortaire. Yeah. So I that was thinking back on what Godric had been through and his test of metal, finding stories of true love, realizing that he didn't have a story of true love himself. He was in love, but he was just in the middle of a story, and realizing that some of these stories end, and having to deal with that, and having to, by chance, because Aranel had tested into House Mortaire, and House Mortaire's, their words are all stories must end, and
Yes.
having the nobles of that house try to teach Godric what it means to live life gloriously and die virtuously, and accept the death. And in that moment on his deathbed, he accepted his death, and he was happy in that moment. And he was, he had fulfilled his.
It's what you
legacy.
what you said to Lady Morgan. You said, I did it.
Yeah.
I embraced death.
I did. That's what I said. And that's the moment I decided to pass through into the labyrinth.
As we reach the end of this, as I spoke to a few people, and as we both passed, we were then both taken back to House Mortaire. Our bodies were taken back. But we were gone at this point. And I felt people, obviously, you need 2 people to carry someone, or 1 person with 2 free arms sort of thing, to move us back. And I felt people like lean in to try and get me. And then I heard Kay's voice telling them to back off, basically. And I said, no, I'm taking her. And he scooped me up and started walking back. Out of character, he whispered to me and said, I didn't realize you had all your steel armor on.
Yeah,
this was all my chain, my metal.
Yeah, this moment was one of those moments. Obviously we're taken out, and obviously it's like, we've got to be taken out, and then we're gone, right? So I think members,
we're gone.
Yeah, members of like Mortaire and Delacorn kind of took us back to our tent, and then we were plonking our tent, and we were just like, that's it.
Now it was such a weird moment.
It's Mark. I mean, Mark was like, we got a little bit of our character. He was like, "You fuckers!" I'm like, "We didn't mean to die. Like, it wasn't planned.
We didn't want to die.
Yeah, we didn't.
but plans.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we went in that moment, and then yeah, like out of character, quite a few people came like all bundled into our tent. Kate came over and came into our tent and everything as well, which I'm definitely grateful for, because basically everybody who knew what it was like all just came at. We chatted everything else. I was like, right, okay, what do we do now? We're in the last hour of the event at this point anyway, so we were kind of
Yeah. I
like,
mean, it was if it was gonna
let's just
die,
put
it was a good
some.
time to die. Is
Yeah,
Sunday because
I was like, I've got like a grey shirt. I'll shove that on. We'll shove a few things on. As we're doing this, we hear a commotion outside. The Siaka Heralds
the freaking
turned
sharks
up
turn
as
up. Yeah.
winter.
So I don't think we mentioned this in like part 1 or
Oh,
part 2, but I know we did a chat. We did a live chat before E3, and there was a winds out saying like Siaka Heralds were after basically House Mortaire, and we were like geared up for it the whole time, but they showed up like
oh,
right after we died.
I was ready to kill these guys, honestly. Like, so this happened. We're in the tent like this, watching
We're like, we're
as
ghosts.
these heralds come in and lots of people circle around. And all I was saying was, kill them. Kill them now. Stab them. Kill them with anything. There's more of you than them. Just do it.
Yeah.
They were like staring Morrigan out. It was intense. Eventually, though, they were it was a Vrushkin who like banished them away from the tent and made them leave. I don't know what would have happened if Aranel was alive. I know exactly what would have happened if Aranel was alive with this, but she would have killed it.
It's a good. It probably. I mean, the Siaka Herald was probably waiting to see. Oh, good, they're dead. Let's go in now.
Oh, now I would have killed. I would have killed them all. Yeah. Like I was.
Probably had a gift for you or something.
Yeah, so that happened, and then more is to come from that, but nothing that we know about.
No, and
then we we got in some clothes. We had a chat. Then we had a lot of out of character chats. So
yeah, we timed out. Obviously, there was no point in us timing back in, but for like 40 minutes. But it was oh, man, like I've got so much to say. I've so much to say. It's tough. I know we've been going a little while on this podcast, but what we're gonna do. Our plan is to do another episode on grief and like character death, and I'd like to get some people on as well, and so people can talk about their experiences.
Talk about bleed. Talk about it, because I mean I wasn't prepared for this, and I don't know how you prepare for something like this.
I tell you what, and the support from people in the field. I mean, we've already said 100 times how like these are just phenomenal people anyway, but like the amount of support that we got from so many people like at the end of that event was just because people could tell we were torn up, and obviously we had a lot of bleed because we've been crying for hours at that point, and it was a lot.
Hours, like it was so much. And I mean, like we had lots of people come and chat to us out of character in the camp, and I don't know about you, I had to get away from the camp. Like we had a few, although there's a few cool moments here because we had people come out of character who had just been at military council and learned that we had died. So they just left to come and speak to us, and we heard that our names have been read out at military council.
Oh, we got commendation as well in Senate.
Yes,
so
we got, yes.
That's not how I wanted it, a commendation, but I got a commendation.
We got one. Yeah, it was announced that Godric had passed his test of ardor, and it was intense. And at this point, there was a lot going on, and at this point, we ended up shout out to Pixie, because we end up going with Pixie and just sitting down in Moorish and just sitting and having some food. We just sat there.
Yeah, because there was like rain and all that on pack down, and we were just like, you know what, we're not in a rush. Let's just decompress, because that was a lot. I
needed a moment away from the camp. I had a couple of the kids coming by, and they realized that I died, and it was quite emotional. And I was like, I needed to just get away from all of that for a bit.
Yeah.
We later obviously found out the kids at a funeral for Aranel.
The kids at a funeral for Aranel. Yeah.
We just sort of. I don't know about you. It didn't really hit me until way after it, because there's a lot of people coming up and being like, "Oh, what's your plans now?" I was like, I didn't plan to die.
Yeah,
No
again, I don't
plan,
know how much we want to,
nothing.
because like we could do another like 2 hour podcast on what we were or our thought process after it. But yeah, it was yeah. A lot of people were obviously being super supportive. Loads of people came and said, hey, blah blah blah. A lot of people that we had interacted with a lot in character came just out of character, and it was quite nice to see them in an out of character um, light as well. Obviously, a lot of people we didn't know in character came to us, it's out of character, and was just like, what? We had, a friend of ours in the league who didn't know, like, literally heard our names read out in the military council and was like, what? And came like running
Watch
over.
out.
I had people reach out then when our names were read out in the military council who didn't know us in character but knew us out of character. Was like, and I had a message being like, yeah, when I heard your names, I was like struggling not to react because it's like, what? But we freaking hell, hun, we did it. We like our goal was to be like, when people said, oh yeah, when you die, and I'm like, hey, when we die, we're gonna make it everyone's problem. And I think we went out in like the most Dornish way and just followed the brief to like a freaking T.
That's what our plan. We wanted to
Yeah,
smash the brief, and to smash the brief, we have to do that Shakespearean story, and
yeah. It
we
was
did it
it was
right up to the tragic end.
yeah, it was a little bit premature. Now that I look at it, I mean, again, I probably want to have a longer time to discuss all this, but yeah, like I have like a few regrets on maybe there was a few things that I wanted to do with Godric, but to be honest, his story, like he was a very vanilla, just he I was obviously I wanted to find out what the deal was with the test of artist stuff. I wanted to see that through. That is obviously the biggest
Yeah.
disappointment for Godric not being able to do the actual proper test of Arda. But I mean, God, like dying the way he died. But yeah, he didn't really have like he was just a good soldier, and I'm proud of what I did with Godric. I really am.
Yeah, you should be.
I'm proud of his story arc and the fact that he went this event and now retelling the story from start to finish. Like he went through an actual full-on story arc this event. Like he had actual character development in this story, and I'm proud of that I role played him to his character to the bitter end. Like he died a good soldier. There's in character blame, there might be out of character blame for why he died. I'm definitely not. I made mistakes. Like honestly, those types of situations, like a game of chess, right? It's like
Yeah.
you only lose a game of chess because you have to have made mistakes somewhere. Like a mistake was made by someone or you at some point in a game of chess. If you lost, if you do everything right, you're going to win or do a stalemate, right? There had to have been mistakes made, but it's a game. That's fine. But I'm proud when I look back at it. I'm proud because he like on that mission. Like I fought like I could have fallen back at any point. Like Dawn's job in that fight was to be out on the periphery in the woods. We were told we were going out to the woods, and we are holding back the Jotun. Godric was a good soldier, and he died a good soldier, and so was Aranel. Aranel was a good soldier. We did what our commanders wanted us. We showed our courage. We didn't run away. We stayed to the last, and we held the Imperial enemies back from the Imperial forces, and we died gloriously because a lot of people showed up and went, "Oh my God, Godric and Aranel died, and that's glory." People knew our names and knew that we died. We achieved it out of character and in character. So I am massively massively proud of what I did with Godric.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we need to do a full episode on Godric and Aranel, or a
Yeah,
full episode on Godric and a full
highlights.
episode on Aranel, because
Yeah,
there is so much. I
you're probably you found it more difficult than I did because you had more that you wanted to do, and I know you
I'd
did.
made a lot of plans
Mm-hmm.
this event I had some big, big plans ready to unfold, and it was intense, like letting go of not her, but letting go of her future, you know.
Yeah.
But what I will say, because I'm gonna assume there's maybe a few questions coming up in the comment section of, what are you doing now? Are you staying in Dawn? Are you changing nation? What are your plans? Well, we can tell you that our plans are going to be revealed at E4.
Yeah. So
and that is all you're getting, apart
yeah.
from a few people who
a lot of
are
people,
sworn to
yeah,
secrecy.
yeah. Some people know at this point, but yeah, like we you know, we want to have content to talk about like after E4. So, and obviously a lot of people are asking after the fact, and it's weird because when people asked, oh yeah, what are you gonna do now? We were like, look, it's just happened. We're not even thinking about that now. But then obviously we had like, I was dreading the drive home as well because it was like it was only like an hour and a half drive home for us, but still I'm like, that's going to be a long drive home. But you know what? Actually talking about new character concepts, even though they weren't really the character concept we've gone with, did actually help. Like it helped a lot, being like, oh, we could do this, we could do that, we could do this, and it was just
Yeah,
like
it was
therapy
that sort
more
of like,
than
yeah,
constructive.
hope.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but God, yeah, it. So I mean, so certain things obviously, you know, stay between a husband and wife, but I do want to say like I'm so privileged to have through LARP not, you know, spent one life with you, but literally lived another life with you. And that's the one special thing about this weird hobby that we've taken up with, you know, is that we've literally lived out another romance, another life, and lived it. And yeah, that was, I mean, that's what hit the bleed hard, was because of, you know, the testimonies and things like that, and what Strash was saying. You know, you and I have literally found each other in another life. The the life we
Yeah.
found in this fucking hobby that um that has just been so great to us since we joined it and we joined the community like last year, 2 years ago.
Yeah. No, it's been like incredible. Like,
Should we end this now?
I think so. I can't do anymore.
Thank you very much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this show, make sure that you follow and subscribe, so you know when the new episode is posted. Make sure that you leave us a comment, leave us a nice review if you're listening on an audio platform. Until the next time, though, it is goodbye and the end for Godric, Lord Godric Mortaire, and Lady Aranel Mortaire. We love you very much. Stay safe.